Okay, you can hear me? Test, test, test. This one
Testing.
is off. You're going to go up a little bit. Testing, testing. Let's all talk about God. Testing. Andrew, how's that? How's it? A little bit better? A little bit louder now? A little bit softer now? That's that all right? I don't... Oh, you caught it. That was a good one.
Hi, everyone. Sorry that I was busily getting ready. I got a little bit of a late start. Now I'm set. Welcome, welcome.
Where's my list? Where's Arua? I think that's okay.
Okay.
Alrighty?
Yes.
Oh, we're late. One more. Testing, 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 testing. No, I have my props I keep them in my go bag. How's this? My temple go bag. Everybody should have a temple go bag, don't you think?
Yeah, then they
we
go.
can market that.
Yeah.
You put your talis in it.
Yeah.
Put your prayer book in it.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
Some snacks.
Sudoku.
Sudoku. In case gets a little quiet and boring.
Yeah.
You okay? Good, thank you. Yes, number 3. 3. We're good? Lovely. Andrew, our chief Levite, we thank you.
Totally. Totally, totally, totally. Yes.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It's good to see you. Welcome. It's not too hot, not too cold. We're doing okay. It's nice to have everybody here. We're going to begin our service with a melody about this incredible radiant light. The words are not going to be in these prayer booklets. We do hope you have a prayer booklet as well as another little handout. On top it's going to say something like a source sheet. That's going to come a little bit later. That's the only handout you need in case there was one still stuck from last week. But for right now, we're going to follow along, Or Zarua La Tzadik, and Holly's going to lead us.
Or Zarua La Tzadik, Yishrei Lev Simcha. Zarua La Tzadik, Yishrei Lev Simcha. Simchu Tzadikim B'Adonai, B'Adonai, V'hodu L'Zecher Kodsho. Or Zarua La Tzadik, Yishrei Lev Simcha. Or Zarua La Tzadik, Yishrei Lev Simcha.
Yefeh. Before we continue, I'm going to invite you to turn to your neighbor, someone you don't know, and introduce yourself. If you are comfortable and want to shake a hand, feel free. Ask if it's okay. And if you just want to wave or put your hand over your heart, that's okay too. But let's make sure that we meet one new person. One new person. Outstanding. The very bottom of that first page, you'll see Shabbat candle blessing. That's where we're going to look. And we have about 14 people I want to bring up. Let's see. Sylvie and Tessa Fox, Sue Brodsky, Danielle Brodsky, Marlene Brodsky, Linda Dinkin, Izzy Groves, Amalia Milstein. Is that close? Okay. Ryan Golton and Jane Lieberman. And Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, no. We are on the bottom of the first page. You light them first, yes. Beautiful. Well, since you're all hugging already, you should hug each other and wish a good Shabbos. Friends coming from far and wide, or you can run. Sylvie, come here with us. You're going to lead us in our Kiddush. Friends, you can return to your spots. And for all of you, we're going to ask you to rise if you are able. We're going to continue with our Kiddush for Shabbat evening. And you can find it on the top of that second page. Oh. All right, my friend.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, ve'atzavanu, ve'shabbat kodsho, ve'ahava u'ratzon, hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'rei. Ki hu yom tehila lemikra kodesh zecher letziat mitzrayim ki vanu v'harta ve'otanu kidashta mikol hamim ve'shabbat kodshecha ve'achava u'ratzon hinchatanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat.
Amen. L'chaim. Could take a sip, and we'll see in a little bit. Perfect. Let us turn again. You could be seated. Lecha Dodi, when we turn the page, welcoming the Sabbath bride into our midst.
Repeat after me, call and response. We welcome the Sabbath bride. We sit in this beautiful place together. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, Penei Shabbat, Nekabela, Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, Penei Shabbat, Nekabela, תפארת ולתהילה לך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה together לקראת שבת לכו ונראה כי היא מקור הברכה בראש מקדם נשואה סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה לך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה קומי צאי מתוך אפיך להבלך שבט עמק הבכה והוא יחמול עלייכם לה לך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה נערי מעפר קומי בשביתי תפארתך בי על יד בן ישי בית הלחמי קורבה אל נפשי גאלה לך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה התעוררי התעוררי כי באורך קומי אורי 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 שיר דברי כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה לך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה 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 בואי ושלום התרבלה גם בשמחה ובצהלה תוך אמונה סגולה בואי חלה לך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה שלום מלאכי השלום מלאכי עליון מלאכי השלום shalom. Lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela.
You may be seated. Let's turn the page. At the bottom of the page, you see Baruch Hu, our call to worship, and we move forward.
Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach. HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. HaMevorach. HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
We turn the page. A meditation on God's love, Ahava Rabbah, we see open up our eyes.
Open up our eyes, teach us how to live. Fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. Open up our eyes, teach us how to live. Fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. We will know that you are one. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto le'olam va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto le'olam va'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
On the next page, V'ahavta, you will love God, and you may be seated.
Love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. these words which I command you on this day shall be in your heart, shall be in your heart. Teach them faithfully unto your children. Speak of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise. Bind them for a sign upon your hand, that they may be a symbol between your eyes. Write them on the doorposts of your house, and upon your gates, and upon your gates. Teach them faithfully unto your children. Speak of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise, and when you rise.
Our prayers have always been designed to kind of be this crescendo, little by little, moving from one point to the next. It's never been designed to be just like these separate siloed prayers. It was supposed to be an idea of moving forward, a real journey. So if we start with Baruch Hu, where we go through a gateway, and we move into these other prayers about love and creation and how we're all connected, it kind of makes sense that we talk about unity and oneness with Shema, and how we show, how we understand that sense of unity through V'ahavta, and you will love. And if you really love, and if God really loves, we get to a higher point in this crescendo about redemption. It's not just freedom. It's about getting to the other side of some hard stuff, just like those ancient Israelites. And if we can realize that we can get through the hard things, I didn't come up with that. Is that Brennan? I don't know. One of these books that everybody in my house is reading. If we recognize that we can do hard stuff, and we recognize that we're never
Doyle,
really...
Glennon. Yeah.
Who's the other one? Oh, it's all right.
I know who you mean. I'll give me a second.
Holly will think about it and then tell me who I'm forgetting. If we can, together and with God, get to those harder points, through those harder points, that really is a redemptive moment. And I think that we can really achieve that.
Brene Brown.
Brene Brown, that's who I was thinking of.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So, Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, who is like you? Our prayer of redemption.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osei feleh, nora tehilot osei feleh, malchutecha ra'u vanecha lokei hayam lifnei Moshe, zeheli anu ve'yamru Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed.
And again, when we turn the page, we see, O guide my steps. Another intentional prayer, helping us to recognize that Sukkot Shalom, that shelter of peace is always spread over us.
Oh, guide my steps and help me find my way. I need your shelter now. Rock me in your arms and guide my steps, and help me make each day song of praise to you. Rock me in your arms and guide my steps. Ufros aleinu sukkot shlomecha. Ufros aleinu sukkot shlomecha. Oh, guide my steps and help me find my way. I need your shelter now. Rock me in your arms and guide my steps, and help me make each day song of praise to you. Rock me in your arms and guide my steps. Ufros aleinu sukkot shlomecha. Ufros aleinu sukkot shlomecha.
Let's turn again, Vishamru, our prayer to remember a covenant, a relationship, and our connection to Shabbat.
Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
We move to the next page, the Amidah, the standing prayer. We continue with Adonai Sefatai Tiftach, and again we ask you to rise if you are able.
Adonai Sefatai Tiftach, uvi agid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah. Ha'el hagadol hagibor v'hanora, El Elyon, gomel chasadim tovim, ve'konei hakol, ve'zocher chastei avot v'imahot, u'mevi geula livnei v'neihem, leman shemo b'ahava. Melech Ozer Umoshia Umagen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Vezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Leolam Adonai, Mechayeha Kol Atarav Lehoshia, Morid Hatal, Mechakel Chaim Bechesed, Mechayeha Kol Berachamim Rabim, Samech Noflim Verofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayim Emunato, Lishenei Avar, Micha mocha ba'al gevurot, umito meloch, melech memit, umechaya, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman ata lahachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, mechayei hakol. Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, ukdoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
You may be seated. We're going to continue with Shalom Rav, our prayer for peace and wholeness.
Shalom Rav. Al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki Hatahu Melech Adon Lechol HaShalom. Ki Hatahu Melech Adon Kol HaShalom. Shalom Rav Al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol et v'chol shah b'shlomecha. Shalom Rav Al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
Let's take some time for our own personal prayer and our own silent meditations.
Yehiyu l'ratzon imrevi lehegyon libi lefanecha. Yehiyu l'ratzon imrevi lehegyon libi lefanecha. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri v'goali. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri v'goali. Yehiyu l'ratzon imrevi lehegyon libi lefanecha. Yehiyu l'ratzon imrevi lehegyon libi lefanecha. Adonai tzuri v'goali yehiyu l'ratzonim revim leheyon libi lefanecha.
Yehiyu l'ratzon is really asking God to help us to pray, to open up these lips of ours we've seen earlier in our prayer service. And even here too, it's hoping that our prayers are going to be real, authentic, not just rote, not just the words we recite the way we might have been told, but something that can ultimately come from the heart. Sometimes that's a little bit easier when we're thinking of where we direct those prayers and hopes for or to. We know that there's a lot of people in our community, in our families, certainly around the world who are hurting right now. We're scared about what's happening with COVID and how this uptick isn't going away quite yet. We look at lives lost and people hurting in Afghanistan and around the world. For those closer to home, we've always shared names out loud, and we're going to do so again. But this prayer, our Misha Berach, the one who has blessed our mothers and fathers who came before us, we ask God to send a little extra strength, a little more love, because we're going to join those prayers and try and support, help, lift up, embrace people who are hurting. I think that's an authentic prayer. The rabbis of old taught us that the truest prayer that God could never argue with isn't just words that we say, but would come from tears. There's no arguing with prayers that come from tears. And a lot of times around this Misha Berach, some of us shed a tear or more, and that's okay. That's sort of what we're doing here from time to time. So, our Misha Berach, the words are a couple of pages forward. If you want to share a name out loud, call them out. And we'll join you in your prayer.
Sheberach Avoteinu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing. And let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor ha'bracha le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. And let us say, Amen. Amen, amen.
I want to share a thought about the Torah portion this week, which is called, what's it called? Ki Tavo.
Brene Brown.
Brene Brown. Brene Brown has this great drash on the Torah portion this week called Ki Tavo with Glennon Doyle. And in Ki Tavo, we have all of these different pieces. And something that I think really stands out for me, at least now, and how I'm thinking about Judaism and Jewish community really so much differently than when I was first ordained as a rabbi 20 years ago. And it has to do with the narrative. I'll start by saying that I don't feel like growing up I had a family narrative, like this is our family's story. Our family's narrative was, let's just get through this. That was most of my family's narrative. But I know, even as a kid, my childhood narrative was a Jewish one. It was, there's been really hard times and we've gotten through it. And it's not always going to be so easy, but we're going to get through it. And that has been a really powerful narrative. A narrative of being enslaved, a narrative of being exiled, a narrative of being hurt and wounded, a narrative that there were pharaohs out in the world, but I was always able to kind of move through, and I really connected with all of that, even as a young child. And that narrative is reflected in this Torah portion. So, along with those little booklets, there was a handout that says Ki Tavo source sheet. And it starts off with a little section from Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy, for those that are following online, chapter 26, starting at verse 5. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but I wanted to do a few things. I wanted to share with you a core narrative of the Jewish people. And I wanted to show you a little bit about how we play in Torah study on Saturday mornings. This is what it's going to be. And by the way, this is the interactive section of our service tonight, right? This isn't just rabbi talk, you doze. This is a part where we might share a little bit with one another. So I'm going to limit myself to being in this area because we still have folks that are following along online. Otherwise, I would do like the Donahue thing. Some of you don't know who Donahue is. I've got no way to explain that. So just go with it. In any case, in this core narrative, it says in Deuteronomy, imagine this. They've gotten to the border. They've traveled through the desert. It's been more than 40 years. They're at the border ready to go in. All they have to do is cross through this river. And Moses, at the end of the Torah, in this second telling in the book of Deuteronomy, is sharing some important things, highlights of all the stuff we've learned before with some new stuff. This is a new one. And Moses is going to share a message from God and says, you shall then recite as follows before the eternal your God. So basically what's happening here is they got into the land and they grew some crops. And when they start off with these new batch of avocados, they're going to have to say these words. They have to say, my father was a fugitive Aramean. My father was a fugitive. He went down to Egypt with meager numbers and sojourned there. And there it became a people. We grew there. Verse 6, the Egyptians, though, they dealt harshly because they were threatened. They didn't trust in this growing population within their country. And so they dealt harshly with us and oppressed us. They imposed heavy labor upon us. That's the slavery part of our narrative. Verse 7, we cried. God heard and saw our plight, our misery, and the oppression that we were experiencing. And then God freed us from Egypt with a mighty hand by an outstretched arm, awesome power, and with really cool tricks. Verse 9, After we got out of Egypt, God brought us to this incredible land that God gave us. Remember, they're hearing about this, but they're not in it yet. They're at the border, they're ready to go in, but they're learning about these rules before they even step foot in the land of Israel. And when you go there and you grow your new avocados, you might think that after 400 years of slavery and 40 years of schlepping through the desert, that they would get to make some really great avocado toast, but that's not what happens. Instead, first they have to bring the first fruits of the soil which you, O Eternal, have given me. They have to say this quote, this declaration. They have to speak it out loud, and then they're going to give it to the priests. You would think they finally got into their land and they're hungry, and they grew these crops. They were ready to eat, but no. They had to make a declaration, express their gratitude, and give it to the priest. That's the text that they had to say. So part of the narrative of when you grow food and you have the first of your crops, you have to remember where you came from. My ancestors came from the Bronx. You have to remember where you came from. You have to know how hard it was. You have to share it. You have to help us remember that we were liberated and brought out after God heard our cries. And then we get to a land. And then we give thanks and gratitude. Those are all the components of our narrative. The rabbis who come much later after this declaration, the rabbis are going to say, look where it says the Mishnah Sota. The Mishnah is rabbinic writings of the 200s of the Common Era in the land of Israel. They write, you have to say this in Hebrew. They actually say in Belashon HaKodesh, in the sacred tongue. That's Hebrew. In the section before this, they say, here's the things that you can say in Aramaic. They spoke Aramaic like we speak English. But some things had to be done in Hebrew, and here it is in Hebrew. The Mishnah and the rabbis say, you have to do it in Hebrew. But what happens if they're not speaking Hebrew, they're speaking Aramaic? What happens if they don't know the words of that whole declaration? Somebody's going to be left out. Somebody is going to feel inhibited, embarrassed, something, because maybe they can't read. So in another section of the Mishnah, where it says Bikurim, that's what this whole thing was talking about. Bikurim is the legal principle of bringing these first fruits from the harvest. It says, originally, all who knew how to recite would recite. It's so Jewish. Originally, all who knew how to recite would recite, while those who did not know how to recite, others would read it for them. And what's not in the text, but our commentator is explaining it, somebody would say the words and he would do repeat after me. So if I didn't know how to read the words, I didn't have to memorize it, like Lecha Dodi tonight. Shh. Like Lecha Dodi tonight. Holly loves the repeat after me moments. You didn't know that that was a traditional part of, being inclusive in Jewish life. So they would say the words and people would say it back to them. But when they refrained from bringing, they decreed that they should read the words to both those who could and those who could not recite, so that they could not repeat after them. What's that mean? This is the interactive part. Look at that last part. Why does everybody have to do this recitation? I say it, and you repeat after me. Sarah, is that you? Okay. Oh, you're blocking the sun. You're not raising your hand? Okay, fine. Who has a thought? Why does everybody have to read the narrative out loud in Hebrew, but now everybody's going to play repeat after me? Lauren, you have a thought? Okay. One idea is let's preserve the sacred language of Hebrew. It's really important, and drum it into them so they never forget. That's definitely my mom's experience of elementary school. All of the things that she had to memorize and recite. And she could still, well, not now, but she was able to say all of these things after, 50 years, 60 years, 70 years. She'd recite these things. Yes, Sylvie.
I think it's saying how when you repeat after someone, it makes it a communal experience. Like it's more than just individually everyone says this prayer. It's us as a people says this passage prayer.
So Sylvie says when everybody says this passage prayer thing, it's communal. It's not individual. Everybody participates. I love that. You can have your bat mitzvah this weekend. One more. Yeah, go ahead. A sense of equality. A sense of equality, equity. We're not leaving anybody out. If everybody has to play repeat after me, then nobody knows who can read and who can't. It's now hidden. It's gone. We're all just people in the tent. We're all, no matter where we are, online or on land, just more folks who are in the pews. Our narrative, I'd like to suggest to you, is that we have to know our history as memory, not just as history, in order to know who we are. Am I still in? Sorry, Andrew. We have to know where we came from and our people's experiences in order to make a meaningful journey forward. And part of our experience of being enslaved means that we need to always know that there are some people in the community who don't know how to read. Or whatever it might be that will make them feel a little different. And our job is to make sure that they know that nobody's blood is redder. That their tuchus in the seat, can you say that at services? It just did. Theirs is no different than anybody else's. No jokes. That we get to be one people, one community. The folks that want to journey with this Jewish community, share the narrative, tell the narrative, know where we came from, so where we can go will be clear to all of us, and that we don't leave anybody behind. That we don't make the bar too high, that people feel on the outs. Wouldn't that be nice if we can structure Jewish community that way, our neighborhoods that way, the city of Boulder that way, the county, the country, the world, where we can enjoy the privileges we have, but make sure that nobody who's feeling wounded or outside, that they will know that they are supported and that they get to sit right next to us. Ken yehi ratzon. If that's God's will, maybe we can make it ours too. Aleinu l'shabeach is our time to conclude the service. Rise if you're able.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, שכינתו זו ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, ודעת היום, והשב אותה אל לבביך. כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, והארץ מתחת אין עוד. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Zichronam levracha. May their memories be for a blessing, whose lives have been a blessing. Folks, family, friends whom we've known, people who have been buried in unmarked graves, folks who lost their lives serving their country as in recent days, others across the generations who made a mark and left an impact. Whomever they were and are, and wherever they are, their memories can be a blessing. It's our time too to think about those whom we've loved and lost. If you are observing a yahrzeit, an anniversary of one's death, or if you're in a period of mourning and would like to share the name of the one whom you're remembering out loud, we invite you to do so. From our community, we remember Arnold Hoffman, the father of Jim Hoffman, who died this past month, and those yahrzeits for the week that has just passed: Harvey Baer, Alexander Samuel Goldstein, Ira Fultonberg, Abe Murfish, Murray Gristle, Lucille Golden, John Arum, Preston Davis, Isaac Boonin, Beth Learman, Betty Jackson, Alan Nelson, Stanley Friedman, Elliot McNutt, David Suker, B. Barry Silvern, Marilyn Groban, David Leibovich, Floyd Marks, George Levin, Robert Goldman. We turn to words of Kaddish. Mourner's Kaddish is on top of the page. Together we say, Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divrach yiruteh v'yamlich machuteh, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayeh d'chol Beit Yisrael, Bagala uvizman kari v'meru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mivarach leolam omei maya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei t'kudisha b'richu leila min kol berachata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran v'alma v'meru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'meru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'meru amen. May the source of peace send peace, comfort, and love to all who mourn. Comfort, love, and peace to all who are bereaved. Here and everywhere, let us all say, Amen. You can be seated. Sylvie, not you. Come here. Everybody, this is Sylvie.
Hi. Nice to meet you guys.
Good job. So, we want to share to you how excited we are for you and for your family. Folks who seem to be coming from out of town, people who know you the best and love you the most, to be sure. It's a really special time. We're so grateful that we're able to do it again in person. I know it's not quite the way we envisioned, in the sanctuary, indoors, all of those kinds of things, but you made such an intentional choice to say that I needed to wait for my people to be close, and here you are, and here we all are, and that's a beautiful thing. We're excited for you. We are glad that you've reached this moment safely, with strength and with a lot of integrity. We know that you have great Torah to teach. I, for one, and I know your family, this is true for them too, and for Holly, that we know that you know your narrative. We know that you know your people's story, and that you're carrying it this Shabbat, that it's with you. And our hope and prayer is going to be that it continues to be so throughout your life, not just this little weekend, but that you continue to carry it, that it brings you strength and it brings you inspiration, because you are one of those folks who looks around and says, repeat after me, to make sure that we get to be connected. And that is, I think, a really special gift. So from all of us to you, my friend, a yad, not just to mark the occasion, but also, there's a yad in there, right? Okay, good. There's a yad to mark the occasion, but also to read Torah with. And we know that you're going to read well and lead righteously and justly, and that it'll be more than once. And you could do it again. What are you doing the following week? Don't answer that. Seriously, Mazal Tov to you and to your family, and we wish you all good Shabbos.
Thank you. Shabbat
You're
shalom.
welcome. Shabbat Shalom. Couple of quick things, friends. We, like always, thanks, Andrew.
Can you all see what just happened? We can't tell what you
We
can
have
see.
lights in here now. So, the season is changing. It's getting darker a little earlier. We're coming to the end of our service. We know that our holy days, our holiest of days, are coming up. And while we have been in that process for this month, the Hebrew month of Elul, tomorrow night is Slichot. You want to join us for Havdalah to mark the end of Shabbat. We're going to be in our tent. We're going to be sharing some reflective prayers to get us into that right space of turning and atonement, repentance, teshuva, we're going to be gathering here. It'll be small and intimate. He'll have more lights inside of the tent by then. And we hope that you'll be able to join us. All of that information is on our website, as well as in the emails that we sent out. Torah studies at 9 as usual in the tent, 10:15 here. Sylvie will be leading with us, which we're really excited about. And please, 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 all of this for High Holy Days has been changing. You might be feeling enough with the emails already, but we want you to know that we're really trying our best to play repeat after me. Mm-hmm. So we have now 2 services, one after the other. One will be just for vaccinated folks. The other will be for our congregants who are vaccinated and children who are not, who are under 12. So if you can choose either of those services for our congregants. For the folks that are outside of the congregation, other than family it's different, but outside of the congregation we have to wait to make sure that there's room. But for people that are part of our community, we're doing our best to make sure that you have one tent or the other to come to and join us. But we must have you register. We need to know who's coming when. And if you're changing your mind, you can make a change on that app that we've set up for you. If you need help, call the office. But for all of these precautions, because of security, because of contact tracing, we want to know who's coming when and make sure that we have enough seats in the tent. We aren't... Am I off? It's on. Can you hear me now? Okay. That we're doing the best to make all of these different plans so that as many people as possible can have a seat. We're limiting capacity even in our outside tent. So it's really essential to register. And if you're not coming, if things have changed for you, to cancel your reservation so somebody else will be able to join us. We'd be so grateful.
And it'll be online at the same time.
Everything that we're doing is going to be online as well, and then recorded. So you'll be able to stream services from our website and from YouTube.
Exactly.
Yeah. Our closing prayer.
So it's the final page. Ele Chamda Libi. We ask that we reveal ourselves, that God reveal God's self. We ask that we can see each other and feel God's presence. Ele Chamda Libi. 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 Ele
wish you a Shabbat Shalom. You can wish your neighbors a Shabbat Shalom. Please bring our service booklets separately from the handouts back to Neil and Alex over there in the corner. And we wish you a good Shabbos, and stay well and strong and safe. Did you just turn it on? It's on. It's clearly on. I think you...